the gospel. This is result in a difficult and bad story for you, because the king is existing as Yehoshua have said. Jeremiah, Hosea, Ezekiel have told about the coming of this king. So right after the Jew coming back to their own land, Yehoshua will come. That is very soon. The coming back of Yehoshua is very soon. That's why the Jew was about to build the third temple. But I said, stop. First, stop. Because the ambassador of Yehoshua have said about the Jews rebuilding the third temple. But I said, stop. Because it's not the right time. And you may say, who am I? I have told you many things, but you did not listen. You should have asked yourself that the Jew have collected some money and on the way to rebuild the third temple. But I said, stop. I am here in Madagascar, said that stop your building the third temple. You know, it belonged to my dad. You know, the temple of Jerusalem belongs to my dad. That belongs to Yehoshua, my brother. You see, there are lots of things to be established. For example, in Madagascar, the TV Yehoshua is closed. That's another story. And that is one of the reasons why God saw his power resulting the problems in Madagascar. And up to now, people have the pleasure to close the TV or the radio of Yehoshua. You may say, that does not have something to do with the life in Madagascar. You might say so, but you block the word of Yehoshua. But I ask you, none of you stands to reply what the African people said, that the scripture and the gospel is wrong. Was they said on the Facebook that you worship in vain because the gospel and the Bible is wrong. You know, if you reply that, give your own answer. But apart from what I have just explained, none of what I've explained, not apart from what I have explained is valid. So if you tend to reply that from what I have explained, you follow, you study from me. But why you speak ill of me and block my TV, the TV of Yehoshua? You know, the reason we have to broadcast the teaching of Yehoshua on TV must be the world must listen and hear the word of Yehoshua, so that the whole world will understand this is the will of Yehoshua. And people may say, you have already broadcasted on the internet. I accept that the whole world can see the teaching of Yehoshua through the internet. But many people are following the teaching of Yehoshua on TV, but not all the people, because there is a money to be paid on the connections. Like especially many people have TV. TV ownership is very high all over the world, but you know, internet, not everybody has an access with the internet. But if I broadcast the TV, the teaching of Yehoshua on TV, lots of people have an access to view or to watch. But if you human being stop the teaching of the TV of Yehoshua, you will never have a solution on the problems here in Madagascar, because it will get worse. It will get worse. I have advised you. You've seen well the situation. This is a concrete example that is fulfilled what I have said, that you're not going to have any solution on the problems of Madagascar. But don't take a leaf out of those people's have books, because don't follow their footsteps by blocking the TV or the radio of Yahushua. You see, Talatuv, the words is fulfilled. Yahushua is a king, and he's the king of the king, and he's the Lord of Lord. Revelation chapter 19 and verse 16, that he has got a name written on him, that he is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Yahushua is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And Yahushua is on the way to reign on the 1,000 years. So if I am explaining you such, the word is true. Don't speak ill of the teaching of Yahushua, but because that's not wise decision. The angel's message, the book of Revelation, what the prophet said are true. Anyone who against of the gospel, you are a devil. You're devil. Don't say something wrong against of the gospel, because that is the reason why I am coming to explain the truth. It's the foolishness of the human being to change the name of Yahushua, but not the truthness about what prophets have told, the angel have said, and Yahushua's situation as being a king, but not he was sitting on the front of the David's line, but the prophets make a sign that Yahushua is going to be a king and sitting on the front of the David. But this is what some people say, that this prophet is, the Son of God is not Israelites, but Arab. The Arabs were not given promise that a brother, among your brother, God will rise up prophets like me, and you must listen to him. Let's reread Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 15. A prophet like me among your brothers, God will rise up, and you must listen to him. And God emphasized that I will say to him and everything what he is going to say. You must listen to him. Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 18. I will raise up from prophets like you from among their brothers. I will put my words in his mouth. He will tell everything I commanded him. If anyone doesn't listen to my words, that will prophet and speak in my name, I will myself will call him to account. Moses was told by God that a prophets like me will be raised among your own brothers, and you Israelites, if you did not listen to the prophets, I will call you to account. Let's suppose that the one sent is the Arabs but not Israelites. First of all, the Israelites were enslaved into Egypt. You see, the Israelites was the one who promised by God to be enslaved in Egypt, and receiving the word of the covenant. What is the chapter, Evangelist Alain, talking about the Exod chapter 3. Exod chapter 3 and verse Exod chapter 2 and verse 23 and 24. Exodus chapter 2 and verse 23 and 24. During that long period, the king of Egypt died. Exodus chapter 2 verse 23 and verse 24. During that long period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out, and their cry for help because of their slavery went up to God. God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and Jacob. And God sent Moses to bring the people of Israel out of Egypt and take them to their land I have promised to their ancestors. Exodus chapter 3 and verse 10. So now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people the Israelites out of Egypt. This is what is written in Exodus, that the people of Israel will be brought out of Egypt. It's not the Arabs, but the people of Israel, according to the scriptures. So the Israelites must listen the word of the prophets, because God have said that prophets like me among your own brothers, you must listen. This is not Arab. The Arab stay in their land, I don't know, about 1,000 kilometers from Israel is the Arabs is staying, but Israel was in the desert, and God will address the word to the people of Israel through Arab prophets. That's not possible. Like a prophets from Saudi Arabia or Iran or Jordania, does God will give the message to the prophets, Arab prophets in their land, and they will come. How can they be in the desert where the people of Israel were on the way to go to the promised land? How can be that possible? Where in the desert will the people of Israel will be found by that Arabs prophets, as long as GPS have not existed that way? God speaks to the prophets straight away through to the people of Israel. How can be the Arab is going to be the prophets? That's a foolish thought. No, it's not. The Arabs people were enslaved into the Egypt. The Arabs did not have something to do with that, so that the Arab might be the prophets to address the word to the people of Israel. Because the reason of the rising up a prophet among the brothers of Israel, God said, I put my words in his mouth. That's not going to be Arabs who is far away from the desert. That won't be possible, because here, this situation, the people of Israel were in the desert. That's a wrong thought. But the prophets, what God have said is a prophet to speak to the people of Israel, because without the prophets there is no link or communication between God and the people of Israel without the prophets. So God rise up prophets among the people of Israel, so that the people of Israel have a communication with God through the prophets. But that does not have something to do with Arab, because the prophets is needed to address, to talk to the people of Israel. Look, in Israel, but the Arabs, Israelo-Arabs are in conflict. How can the word will be fulfilled? If the Arab is the prophets, the Israelites must listen to the Arab prophets. But even the situation in Israel emphasizes, justifies the situation that it's not going to be, or it will never be, Arab prophets, because that's against of God's plan, God's will. If it is said to be an Arab prophets, the Israelites must listen to that prophets. But see, the situation that doesn't exist in Israel. The meaning a prophet's being raised by God among the brothers, among the Israel, is like Moses, a prophet like Moses among the people of Israel, a prophet among the Israel. What is the use of the prophets? To talk to the people of Israel and to correct them and to rebuke them, like Moses said, give me to you to listen. If God speak through the mouth of Arabs at the time of Israelites on the way out of Egypt, because that was the reason why God raised up the prophets, so that the prophets addressed the word to the prophets, a word from God, with the Arab prophets that is rebuking and correcting and speaking to the people of Israel. If you see that, I admit, but none of what Moses said is apart from what Moses said is wrong, because even the Quran accept as Moses as being a prophet, and the word of prophets said that the Israelites must listen to the prophets, like those prophets addressed or speak to the people of Israel, like in the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah have corrected the people of Israel for 23 years. That is the way that God has established, so that they can bring the message from God to the people of Israel. That has happened long ago, but none of the Arab has corrected or rebuked the people of Israel. None of the Arab prophets, if it says so, found in the Sefer Torah of the Jew. Don't do that. God is very strict in this scripture. God cannot be mocked. I'm telling you the truth. And think, if the Jew is coming back to their own land, that's due to the word of the prophets. And don't mock God. And if there is another God powerful, he should have blocked the people of Israel from coming back to their land. You know, Israel is small in numbers, but they cannot be fighted. But listen, the prophet sent by God is an Israelite